Hi, YouTube. Tuka here with some more thoughts for you. Today we're going to be discussing the Gazan Board of Peace, and particularly the reaction to it for some of our other podcasters, particularly this one, Pod Save the World. Although their views are not unique, really. Whether you go to Pod Save the World, Breaking Points, Secular Talk, Sam Cedar, whoever, as long as they're mildly pro-Palestinian, they have the same views towards the Board of Peace. So, before we begin, I just want you to remember two questions about this Board of Peace um, while we discuss everything. Number one, what is your main goal? Is it to bring Israel to justice, or is it to provide a living space for the Palestinians, or living areas for the Palestinians who are now stuck in tents? At this point, somebody will probably say, "Can't we be adults about it and um, and do both?" The answer is no, you can't. See, when you have two goals like that, one goal has to take precedence. If you're saying that both of them will take precedence, then that essentially means that you're okay with the Palestinians living in tents for longer just so you can bring Israel to justice. Because necessarily the justice part will be slower than the building part. So no, that's the first thing I want you to remember. And number two, the Palestinians so far have not put up any plan at all as to how to rebuild Gaza. Everything they have is denial, 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 denial. Like we don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want this. So everything negative, and then that's it. Now, why have they not been able to propose their own counter proposal? Because ultimately, what they want is number one, Israel to assume guilt um, for however whatever war crimes and genocide they say Israel committed, and number two, Israel to pay reparations to be punished for the crime, to be punished for the act of genocide, to pay reparations to build something for the Palestinians. And of course, for the Palestinians, since they're the aggrieved party who would receive reparations, would have full control over that money so that they can spend it on however they like. Whether that's building stuff or maybe building more tunnels, like what they did before. Because again, if somebody like Kushner is in charge of building Gaza, then you can be sure that there's no tunnels, at least obvious ones. But if it's Hamas and the Palestinians in charge, then they can build it the same way that they built it before, which is what we're trying to avoid. So, now, please go back to my first question. Is your goal for the Palestinians to be able to live comfortably at the soonest possible time, or to bring Israel to justice? If you're saying you have to bring Israel to justice to get a fair, equitable solution, then fine. The only way you're gonna do it is BDS. You're gonna have to uh, get enough countries to agree to that. Uh, you're gonna have to get the U.S. to agree to that. Then somehow you're also have to gonna get China to agree to that, because if the U.S. turns on Israel, then Israel will necessarily go to China. So, because there's only really two sides in the world, really, U.S. and China. Russia is just essentially an extension of China. Um, so now that you know what you have to do, my question to you is, how long would that take? How many decades would the Palestinians live in tents in Gaza for you to achieve your goal of bringing Israel to justice? So, the Board of Peace already has a plan on the table. They already have funding for that plan. They already have buy-in for most of the Muslim world, most of the Sunni Muslim world at least. Yet you still don't want it because it doesn't fit exactly what you want to do. Okay, now I'm gonna address the criticisms that they bring out, and then I'll try to address them one by one. Let's go with the more stupid ones first. Number one is that, and this is like one of the really worst ones I've heard. You're going to be building on the bones of dead Gazans. You know, I have to say, if you're not allowed to build on the bones of dead Gazans, and I'm sorry if this is macabre, where are you gonna build in Gaza? You say that there's a genocide there, right? So people are dead all over the place. So how are you gonna build anywhere? Now you're gonna say that okay, we have to exhume them first and identify them, so we can say however many Israel killed. Okay. Number one, in order to do that, before you start anything, you're gonna have to clear all the rubble and etc. first. That's before you even start, and you're gonna have to identify the bodies. Can the bodies be identified? Yes, Israel does it, right? You give them hostages, then they identify the bodies. The difference is the Israelis have sometimes they have genetic samples of the soldiers they send in, particularly the soldiers. They also have dental records and all that other stuff. More importantly, they're doing it for like 10, 20, 30 people. That's it. If you want to do this for the Palestinian side, you're going to do it for 10, 20, 30,000 people. How long will that take? How many years, decades will that take for you to get the everything exhumed and identified and everything uh, before you finally allow Palestinians to rebuild? So you have to you have to realize something. It's not nice living in a tent. If you could have a choice, you would not live in a tent. And the pro-Palestinian side wants to prevent ethnic cleansing. What do you think will happen if you tell the Palestinians in Gaza, I'm sorry, to achieve our other goals, you guys are gonna have to stay in the tent for 20 years? They're all gonna leave. They might not do it overtly through the Egyptian Rafah border. They might do it through boats. They might do it through other stuff. But eventually, they're all gonna leave. Now, next question. Next criticism. The timeline is not feasible. Kushner says that cities in the Middle East have been built for 3 years. Has been built during 3 years. They claim it took dozens of years and stuff like that. Uh okay. So first things first, when you're dealing with the Middle East, or at least Gaza, you're not dealing with any permits, you're not dealing with any lawsuits, you're not dealing with any regulatory stuff, for better or for worse. Everything is going through Kushner and his guys. So there's no delay. You just build, 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 build. Okay, so that alone will shorten the time. Number two, they claim that it will take so many years to build to clear up the rubble and the mines and stuff like that. I have to point out the Israelis are already clearing out the mines from Rafah. They're already demolishing buildings and turning it into a buildable area. So that's already happening. And number three, there is no construction project in the world that builds everything at the same time. You build phase one first, which is probably Rafah or the environs. Then you build phase two, phase three, phase four. So, you can you can clear an area, build stuff while you're building stuff there. You're cleaning the next area or clearing the next area. So you can go on a rolling basis like that. Number three, let's say I'm still wrong, or Kushner's time frame is wrong. It's real estate. I mean, how real estate construction? How often is it that a real estate project is built from scratch to finished without any delays or anything like that? I think the railroad to nowhere of California is like a decade overdue, and nobody's getting mad. So, does it really matter if it takes an extra 3 years? Let's say the timeline is totally off. Let's say instead of 3 years, it's 6 years, or let's say it's a decade. Let's say it's a decade, right? at least it's going somewhere. The houses are being built. The Palestinians see those houses and they see hope, right? So they see that they can move there when done, whenever it takes, and they can still live there. They can still live a life there. I If you want your way, you have nothing. You don't have any money to proceed because you're waiting for the Israelis to give it. Nobody's investing in you because you haven't gotten the buy-in of the Muslim world yet. Uh, and if the Muslim world's not investing, like hell, the Europeans are, and of course the Americans will not as well. So, you know, it's better than nothing, and nothing is all the pro-Palestinian side is providing. Now, number three, Hamas doesn't have. Hamas never agreed to disarm. Uh, they say that Hamas is not capable of agreeing to disarm because that's a decision for the entire Palestinian movement to take. At least this is the this is the argument of people from like Scale, like Drop Point and stuff. First off, it is true. The Hamas never agreed to disarm. Number two, it's bullshit that they cannot disarm. If Hamas wants to disarm, it can disarm. It says it can't, because it doesn't actually want to disarm, because it wants to fight again later, which is perfectly fine. If you want to fight again later, then fine. But it's just let's just be honest between ourselves that it's just an excuse. Now, why are they insisting? Why is Trump and the rest insisting that Palestinians disarm? Because whether you like it or not, see, this is what I hate about the pro-Palestinian side. They have no concept of reality. Whether you like it or not, Gaza is gonna cost money to rebuild. I know you wanna get that money from Israel. Again, you can do that. It will take decades. If you wanna get money right away, it's gonna come from UAE. It's gonna come from certain European sources. It's gonna come from the other Gulf states. None of them are willing to invest in Gaza with Hamas armed and still there. That's it. If you want Gaza to be rebuilt, then Hamas will have to disarm. If you're fine with Gaza not getting rebuilt, then Hamas can stay armed. Now, does that mean that Rafah will never be constructed? I'm sure Rafah will be constructed because it's already in the Israeli side. But that's all you'll see. The only places that will be built up is the Israeli side of the line because nobody is going to touch the Hamas side of the line. There is already an army for the Board of Peace, right? I doubt they will go to the Hamas side. And then, you're also giving the Israelis a chance to go back and attack Hamas again to disarm them. But if Hamas doesn't want to disarm, then Israelis by default have half of Gaza to themselves. So maybe they don't even want to do that. Now, another one I've heard is that there is no Palestinians in the Board of Peace, in the main Board of Peace. However, there is Israel there. Okay. So let's just clarify that in the Board of Peace organization, there is a technical committee underneath the Board of Peace, underneath Kushner, full of Palestinian technocrats, mostly from the West Bank, some from Gaza, that are supposed to handle the day-to-day, construction, like operational managers. So there are Palestinians there. So they're just not in the top enclave. Okay. Another dose of reality. And I'm sorry to offend you, Palestinian guys, for this. You lost. All the hostages has been released. Gaza has been destroyed. Hamas is still alive, but you still lost. That's how the world sees it. That's how the Board of Peace sees it. Take it up with them, but that is the case. Losers don't get a seat at the table. Let me ask you a question. Did Germany and Japan complain when they never got a seat at the UN Security Council? No, because the UN was set up by the victors of World War II. They're not going to give a seat to the losers of World War II. the fact that there is a technical committee that's full of Palestinians is already a miracle in and of itself, because at least you get some representation in the entire organization. So again, like what Rubio says, what Kushner says, there is no plan B for Gaza. If the pro-Palestinian side wants to make a credible discussion, they have to put forward a plan B. It can't depend on Israel paying reparations and stuff. That's gonna take too long. All right, number 4 or 5 or whatever we are. The Board of Peace is there to take over the UN. Okay. So again, I ask you: is your goal to have the Palestinians get housing, or is your goal to protect the UN, criminalize Israel, and all of your other strategic objectives? If your goal is to have the Palestinians live in Gaza in comfortable housing in the fastest period of time, so what if if the Board of Peace tries to usurp the UN? You think the UN can't defend themselves? You have China and Russia there who will not let it go, because they won't want a organization completely staffed by the US. Now, I can see certain pitfalls for the UN. For example, what if Barbecue or somebody from Haiti, I forgot the transitional president's name. Um, what if they go to the Board of Peace like, I'm sorry, we have to go to you. We've already tried asking the UN to send troops to help us kill the gangs in our island. The UN sent in 1,000 Kenyan peacekeepers or policemen. They were nowhere near enough. So we're going to you now, and we're asking you to help us. Then of course, Board of Peace says that we can't do that. Much as we want to, you would have to get permission from Gutierrez or whoever is there first, and then they would go to Gutierrez and say like, uh, please give us permission to go to the Board of Peace because you guys suck, and you guys were not able to deal with our problems. How would the UN react in that case, right? Would they even cede more power to the Board of Peace? But again, that's not a reason not to let the Board of Peace live, because the Board of Peace um is already constructing the new lives for the Palestinians. Now the next one, Board of Peace does not mention Palestine or Gaza in the what do you call it, in the charter. Again, so what? If you wanna pursue your other agendas, then pursue your other agendas. If you wanna see the Palestinians live comfortably, then shut up and let the Board of Peace do their work. Um, Lastly, what was the last one? I had it on the tip of my tongue. Uh, there is no Palestinians. Board of Peace is all Israeli and others. It doesn't provide for a Palestinian state, nor does it provide for a contiguous Palestinian state. So this is where I think the full delusion steps in. Again, do you think you won the war in Gaza? Before the war happened, you didn't have a contiguous Palestinian state, nor did you have an independent West Bank or an independent Gaza that was running on its own. Gaza was blockaded, the West Bank is whatever it is in Oslo. What makes you think that you'll get more in peace where Israel agrees to all of these terms, like 1967 borders and whatever, than you would get in war? Because we're in the peace portion now. You can't actually pressure Israel anymore. So what makes you think they'll agree to all of that stuff that you didn't win in war? If you want to get all that stuff, at least have the decency to win in the war first. At least when Hamas rose up on October 7, then you should have at least had the West Bankers rise up. You should have at least had your guys from Lebanon, from Jordan, everyone. But no, you just left the Gazans on their own. So there is that. Again, Board of Peace has ulterior motives. Is not perfect. Favors Israelis because they won, and it's the only game in town. If your goal is for the Palestinians to live, you have to support the Board of Peace, or come up with your own idea. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope you like these thoughts, and I hope you do like and subscribe. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Would only be for pedestrians.